Welcome back, everybody, to the Even Your Dynasty show.
We just got breaking news in.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Even Your Dynasty show. What the hell was that show? We're off to a solid start. Let's go ahead and restart that, everybody. What's up, guys? Man. But boys are back today. We got all three of us. What's up, Aaron? We got lots to talk about. It's an off day. Giants are coming off losing 2 out of 3 from the Royals. They did sweep the A's right before that, so that's nice. But they're kind of just treading water right now. It feels like.
Yeah, I mean, just starting to get some of the guys back. Fitz and Casey definitely have already made a little bit of a difference so far. I think a couple more weeks of having those guys back in the lineup just about every day, and Casey especially against left-handed pitching. Should help them out a lot. And then, of course, about a couple more weeks, and then we get Herrera back for that Miami series, hopefully. So, yeah, I think just honestly trying to play 500 ball until then. And, I mean, honestly, this road trip isn't too difficult. Like, they really need to kind of take advantage of, Washington especially. But they have been a team in the past that have given the Giants some fits on the road for sure.
Yeah, health is wealth, boys. Needed Fitz back. That was a big spark. And then Casey, as you mentioned, this team has struggled all year against lefties, and that's, Casey's strength. So hopefully try to get him some more ABs against these lefties and kind of get us out of that funk. And then, Herrera coming back hopefully in exactly a week from today. I know he's kind of got shut down and pushed back just a little bit. He's due to come off on the 26th. Not going to be the case, though. We'll dive into that more later. But and then Verlander going down creates, a couple opportunities we'll touch on. But now health is wealth. Like you said, we're kind of treading waters until we get to that point. So hopefully we start to see everything kind of come into fruition.
Yeah, absolutely. Rob says, I hate that narrative that after the first week we're only at 500, all games matter. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, they're not losing ground. So, like, there's two ways you can look at it right now. They're clearly not playing their best ball, and they're just kind of chilling at 500 over that stretch. So, I mean, it could certainly be significantly worse given that they really aren't, it doesn't feel like they've hit their stride yet.
Yeah.
So
it feels like half the team hasn't hit their stride yet. So it's weird because you got a couple guys that get hot and the rest is cold. And then those guys will go cold and a couple guys get hot. So Wilmer faced that. No.
But let's see, we got Nationals and Tigers on the road. Then they're going to have an off day next Thursday, and then they get the Marlins. So, I mean, the Marlins aren't great, but that's it's still a 9-game road trip. That's still 2 pretty tough teams. Like like Ricky said, Washington's always been a place that they've kind of struggled historically. And then the Tigers don't they have the best record in baseball right now?
Yes, they do.
Yep.
Yeah. So hopefully we dodge Scooble on that one, but the Tigers are obviously a good team, so that's going to be tough. And then, I mean, you got to at least take 2 of 3 from Miami minimum. So that's going to be the one where they're going to really have to do something. But
yeah, and like Harris said, you had to take advantage of this the San Diego skid that's going on. You got to capitalize on that. All offseason you were told that you're going to be a 3rd place team in your division behind LA and San Diego. San Diego's slipping. You got to capitalize on this.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it comes down to getting rid of that black hole at the bottom of the lineup, and like we said, having Fitz back in there, especially when he's in the 9 hole, really helps because then you have him and usually Yaz going back to back. So that's not bad to have. I mean, if you can just get one of those guys on in an inning, it definitely helps turn the lineup over. And then that way you can kind of hide Bailey in like the 8 hole typically, and it doesn't hurt as bad. especially when Lamont's not in there and you have, Casey. So I think that'll help stabilize the lineup a little bit because, like Dan said, it's really only been like one hot hitter at a time, and then Wilmer usually trinkles in his like one big game a week where he just goes bonkers or has just that one super clutch hit at the end of a game. But other than that, it's everybody else going completely silent at the plate. So just having a little bit more stability at the bottom, I think, will kind of level some of that out. And then, hopefully getting Washington and Miami on this road trip and not facing as dominant of pitching should help. But of course, that Tiger series in the middle is going to be real tough. So,
yeah. You don't say that, Anthony.
Yeah, he's going to the Weichuan Dragon. That's where he's coming to. He's not coming back to San Francisco.
Yeah, no. Oh man, brutal. But so we do have a lot to talk about today. Let's see. I mean, obviously the Verlander injury, he's going to miss. Sounds like 2 starts. We'll get to that here soon. We're going to talk a little Elliot Ramos, who's kind of taking the next step, it feels like, and we'll kind of show some things to illustrate. It's not just the numbers, although the numbers have been great. So we're going to talk about that. And then we're going to touch a little Casey Schmitt here. We'll probably start off with that one because, I mean, really the Giants offense against left-handed pitching, Dan brought it up. For those of you that were watching the live show last week, I basically to a T predicted the Giants offense against, what was it, Springs? That was hilarious. And then also we're going to, about midway through the show, because we want to let a bunch of people get in here, we're going to talk about, we have a giveaway that we're going to do next week. It's going to be next Thursday. We're going to do a live show on the off day. Ricky's already got the post up on Instagram. So, I mean, if you want to go on Instagram, go to sfgiantscove. You can actually see the details there. But we'll talk about it on the show, but we're going to let people kind of hop in here before we do that. So, let's just go ahead and start off with the Casey Schmitt talk a little bit, because I feel like, he came back. It's only been 2 games and, it's an admittedly very small sample size, but there have been some really encouraging things with that. He's actually played pretty well at third base the day Chapman got off. Obviously that's not something he's going to do all the time because Chapman, posts up every day, but has gotten a couple big hits. And to me, the other thing was he drew a couple walks. That was really nice to see out of him. And he feels like a sneaky good option at first base, especially as Wade continues to kind of flounder below the Mendoza line. And, obviously Herrera's coming back, but I think Casey is kind of making a case that, maybe like Luis Matos should be the guy that goes down. And then Herrera does end up playing corner outfield.
Yeah. I mean,
if you don't go Wade.
It's not a bad argument whatsoever. Like you mentioned, he was providing good, production offensively and defensively before he got hurt. And then he kind of picked up right where he left off once he got called back up. Now I know there have been some rumbling about, that Casey might be the odd man out once Herrera returns, but I really think, you got to look at your options. And like we always say on the show, you want to construct your best team and play your best players on a daily basis. And Casey Schmitt is one of your best players, on your 26. There shouldn't be a reason why you're going to be sending him down. Now, I mentioned it to you guys earlier where I think, if it was up to me in my call, I would probably send Koss down, even though Koss has been perfectly fine in his own role. I would much rather have Casey as your backup infielder who can play, all 4 positions in the infield in a crunch, and a team that's been, like I mentioned earlier, that's been struggling mightily against left-handed hitters. He excels against lefties. So you can plug him in on those days when you got a lefty starting, and you can plug them all throughout the infield. So me personally, that's what I would do. I would hate to see him get sent right back down to SAC, and then you're just kind of waiting for an injury or till September when an extra roster spot comes up so you can bring him back up. I want you to maximize the glove, maximize the bat to your best of your abilities. And that's just the way I want to approach it. What gets tough though is, they seem inclined on wanting Casey to get reps at first base. And Beaumel's already said that Herrera is going to get the majority of at bats at first base and playing time at first base when there's a lefty on the mound. So that's what kind of complicates things for me. So, and like Cole said, Herrera, he's capable of playing a corner outfield position, but they're already, implying that he's going to be playing first, or DH role. So I hope that they don't send Casey down, but it wouldn't really surprise me if that's the way that they went, just based on how they're saying they want everything to work out. So we'll just see how it goes.
Yeah, personally, I think it really should come down to I would honestly go Matos or Koss, just because you're getting very little out of either of them offensively. And I mean, they had a little bit of trouble early on playing Matos at all. And then now, even when they have given him more opportunity, he's really struggled with it. And just being a right-handed hitter and getting platooned, the bats are so spread out anyways. I just think it'd be more beneficial for him to get everyday playing time in Sacramento, so he can kind of learn how to adapt and kind of stay within the strike zone, even with less at bats. So I personally think that would be the move. And then you still keep Casey up. And then I think it just gives you the ability to kind of mix and match with the lineups a lot more than you can right now, because then you can still put Herrera in a platoon with Yaz in right field. You can still mix him in at first base a ton, which obviously he's going to be there more. But then if you get rid of Koss and have him go back down to sack, then you have the ability to put Casey at first and second now, because we all know that he's just not going to get a ton of time at third like he did the other night. That's going to be a more one-off thing. So now, do I think they're going to actually move Koss down? Probably not, because they view him as the backup shortstop. But it would be kind of nice to see, just because, I mean, how many games have we seen somebody other than Adames play shortstop this year? So it's kind of like we're kind of worried about these hypothetical situations, but it's like ultimately they really need the hitting. And I just think having Casey and Herrera on the team at the same time gives them a lot more flexibility with the lineups. And that's kind of what they need to prioritize at this point, because that's been the issue. It hasn't really been pitching and defense as much. There have been some shaky games on defense, but that's definitely been the bigger issue, is the hitting, especially at home.
Yeah. I just don't know how this team, with how they've hit against left-handed pitching this season, could justify sending Casey Schmitt down. Like, I really don't, because this is a guy that last season, he hit over 300 with a nearly 1,000 OPS between AAA and San Francisco, between SAC and San Francisco last season. Those were his numbers. And someone might say, oh, well, I'm sure that was inflated by his performance in Sacramento. And the answer is not really. I mean, you look at what he did in San Francisco last season, 45 at bats, he hit 311 with a 991 OPS. So yeah, his numbers were a little bit better in SAC, but I mean, that was against lefties. He crushed them. So I don't know how a team that can't hit lefties could possibly justify sending down what might be their second best hitter against left-handed pitching. I mean, Ramos is far and away number one. I mean, he's basically Aaron Judge against lefties last season. But, I mean, Schmitt is up there as far as performance. So I don't get how you could potentially send him down. Cole obviously raised a great point. You typically want defense. That's where it gets a little hairy if you do send a guy like Matos down. And that's where, maybe you do just have to say, we're done with Lamont Wade. And you move on, and you lose a left-handed hitter in your lineup, and you lose a lefty option, which, yeah, it's not ideal, but nothing about the Giants roster right now is ideal. There's not going to be an ideal situation with the players we currently have. So get the best players in there and go from there is kind of where I'm at.
Yeah, see, you just took the words out of my mouth. I was going to say there's a very simple solution to all of these hypotheticals going on, and that's you DFA Lamont Wade Jr. All joking aside, we're going into June, and he's still hitting what, a $170, $180 on the season.
Yeah.
So, and his defense has been abysmal. I mean, he had the disgusting error the other day, which is just inexcusable for a major league first baseman, especially a veteran one. So
right after you praised him too for a nice play.
Yeah, it's like I can care less about the matchups, the righty lefty combination. I can really care less. This team is right-handed heavy, and they're far better against right-handed pitchers than they are against lefties. So to me, the whole matchup thing makes zero, sense to be concerned about. So that's the easy solution. You DFA Lamont Wade Jr., you have Harrar and Casey as your platoon at first base, and then you can plug one or the other at DH. You can plug Casey all throughout the infield and throw Harrar in right field to fill in a crunch. Like that just makes your team so much better, in my opinion. So
yeah,
that's what I would do.
And I'm going to throw something really quick before Ricky jumps in here about Harrar Encarnacion, because we're guilty of this too. But we all kind of talk about Harrar like he's some proven product and some guy that like just deserves to be a near everyday player, get all this playing time, yada yada. And we talk about him like he 100% deserves to be on the roster over Casey Schmitt. What has Harrar Encarnacion really done in his career? Like even last year, like he showed glimpses.
He's deserving of an opportunity. He was the best player in spring training. That's why I'm so adamant on giving him a legit shot.
Yeah, and that's fair. Like I'm not trying to say like Harrar Encarnacion shouldn't be on the team, because he should. But it's just funny because it's like there's this narrative that he like 100% deserves to be on the team over Casey Schmitt, and I'm like, I'd pump the brakes on that a little bit, honestly, because his bat is not really much more proven than Casey's is. Casey's showing some good things, and Casey has way more positional versatility than he does.
Definitely.
And he's a better defender at almost every position. So it's like, it's a tough situation to be in. And I guess the counter argument is you want the offensive upside of a guy like Harrar, because, especially if you already have like Christian Koss on the roster, because him and Casey then become a little bit, redundant. So,
and like some of the comments are saying, he's a power threat, plain and simple, for a team that's could really use that in the middle of the lineup.
Yeah. Casey hit 19 home runs last year in about 400 plate appearances.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
So
that's why in a perfect world you keep both.
Yeah. And Casey's power is center to left field, more pull side, which theoretically will play better for a right-hander in Oracle. Yeah. That's the other part to look at.
Yeah, and I think it really comes down to just adding more power. I think beyond Wade playing basically around 10th percentile defense at first base, the guy has zero power. He has one home run on the season. You're already dealing with the black hole that is Patrick Bailey in the lineup, but when you're adding in Lamont Wade Jr. on top of that, at a position where you actually do expect there to be some resemblance of power and hitting, you're getting absolutely nothing out of Wade. And we can't possibly get halfway into the season where we're still holding out hope that Wade can finally see the light at the tunnel, which is a 200 batting average for him. At some point, we got to move on from having a certain amount of lefties in the lineup and treat it the same way they treated the bullpen, which was, we're going to go with the best guys there and see how it works, because it's pretty ridiculous to be holding on to, oh, we need that extra lefty in the lineup or on the roster, when ultimately hitting against right-handed pitching has been far from the issue at all. It's very clearly been against left-handed pitching. So why not just stack your team with a bunch of guys that can at least solve that problem? Because, while you are not facing left-handed starters nearly as much, it's still affecting the team. I mean, what's their record down to now? Like 2-10, 2-9 against left-handed starters now?
I think they said it's like 3-10 or something.
It's just been atrocious. Like, at some point we got to make an adjustment here. I mean, it's not an everyday thing you're facing, but I mean, we're still talking like a third of your games that you played so far. That's no minor thing. So if you can stack your lineup against lefties with a combo of Harar, Casey, Fitz, all at the bottom of your lineup, and just have Yaz sit for a day, and then you still have, Adames, Lee's always going to be there, Ramos, and Chapman. Your lineup's going to look a lot more formidable, and you're going to have power almost up and down throughout the lineup. So it's like at some point we got to make that change and pull the plug like they had to on Austin Slater last year.
Yeah. Wade has 149 plate appearances. Like, we're 50 games into the season, and if you want to go back farther from last season, like, it's uglier. So I mean, this is not a small sample size. We have moved so far beyond that. So, but I feel like we go on the Wade thing almost every week. So we'll kind of we'll cut that one now at this point. Aaron brings a good point. Chapman and Adames combining against lefties, 1 home run, 5 RBIs. Yeah, Adames has reverse splits in his career. So
yeah,
but he has been pretty close to a league average bat against lefties. I think he's like around like a 97 OPS plus in his career, but he's like closer to like a 117 against righties. He's been bad against kind of everybody, but he's been real bad against lefties. Chapman, that one I'm pulling up his career splits right now because that doesn't seem normal for him, but Chapman's been scuffling hard for like the month of May, it feels like.
Yeah, nobody's really talking about it, but Willie dropped a little hint during an interview that he had, a brief one, and he had mentioned that he's still adjusting to the weather and playing outdoors because he's so used to playing in Milwaukee. So he did mention that it's a little bit of a transition and that, it's different for him playing an outdoor. And you guys, I mean, all of us have been to San Francisco. Those night games are no joke compared to one inside a dome. So, yeah, I mean, I'm trying to give Willie the benefit of the doubt because he's a great player. I mean, we've seen it year in, year out, but it comes a time where it's like, come on, bro, you've been here for months now. You got to get used to this weather. So, I mean, I'm not using that as, justification for his struggles. He's definitely got to turn it around. But I just wanted to bring up that little point that I'm like, that's something nobody's really talking about that he's kind of mentioning is contributing to his struggles so far.
Yeah. And just so you guys know, Chapman career 255, 813 OPS against lefties. Just in case anyone was wondering.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we've been saying for weeks now, at some point, these guys are going to just break through. It's like we get these little 2 and 3 game glimpses, and it's like at some point, these guys are going to have to break through. We kind of felt that way about Ramos when he got the hot start and then went super, super, super cold. And now he's like been pretty damn on fire these last, 2 weeks now, where the home runs are starting to come in bunches again. He's starting to drive in a lot of runs. He's been coming up with those clutch hits with runners in scoring position. At some point, we're going to get it out of Chapman. I mean, we're getting a couple little solo homers mixed in here and there. I mean, Willie's had a few little stretches where he started hitting some line drives. At some point, you got to figure that these guys are going to start torching the ball. And I just think balancing out the lineup with some of these guys coming back, getting healthy, hitting at the bottom will really take the pressure off of them at the top.
Agreed.
Not gonna lie, that name in the chat terrified me. Tommy Murphy. I jumped for a second.
Yeah, Tommy says, why not trade Ray for a bat? I don't know how you could trade Ray right now unless you fall out of it. If the Giants just suddenly the bottom falls out and they go full, August, September 2013 Giants and just start losing every game. Yeah, I mean, I hope Ray just keeps dealing and then you just sell him off for a good haul. But I mean, you're not going to trade for like a superstar bat that's in the majors for Robbie Ray. Like, that's just not going to happen. Nobody's going to give that up. You're going to be trading for prospects and hoping at that point. But let's actually, do you guys want to do Verlander talk and who might replace him, or do we want to do Ramos next?
Well, real quick on this name, if you say Tom Murphy 3 times on this live, you immediately get banned from the channel, just so you know. It's like Beetlejuice. That has to be his burner on YouTube.
Yeah. I should have pulled a Dan and been like, Tom Murphy throws out 5 runners this season, I'll get a tattoo of his face.
See, now that's
felt so safe.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's no chance of that.
Oh man. All right, let's just do the Verlander talk. I think a lot of people want to hear about this one. So obviously, Justin Verlander, he hit the IL. He's on the 15-day. He's going to miss, sounds like, the next 2 starts because they can do it retroactive to May 19th. So he's going to miss the next 2 starts. We're assuming he'll be good to go after that. It sounded like he wasn't even 100% going to miss a start, and then they just made the decision that, hey, we're going to go ahead and put you on the IL. Probably for the best. He's 42 years old. There's no reason to be, careless with that, and just give him the time. But it does leave the Giants, to me, it kind of leaves them 3 options that are reasonable. Number 1 is Jordan Hicks starts, which I don't think any of us want to see that at this point. You've moved him to the pen. Let's not do that. The other option, this seems like the most likely path, is probably Kyle Harrison. Now, that said, similar to Birdsong, who actually had been throwing more pitches than Kyle out of the pen, though Kyle did start the season as a starter. They said Birdsong was probably limited to 75. He ended up throwing 80. Kyle hasn't thrown more than about 25, 30 pitches in any game since April 30th was his last start for Sacramento. So we'll see that. Now, there's a lot of things with Kyle that I think all of us like, and we're seeing some good things there. And then the third option, which is just kind of a wild card, it's something I've mentioned on a couple past shows, would be a guy like Carson Whisenhunt, who he's not currently on the 40-man, though, as I've mentioned before, the Giants only currently have 38 players on the 40-man. One of those is going to be Gerard Encarnacion, who's going to be player number 39 probably. And that still leaves an open spot. And they don't have anybody that is relevant on the 60-day. Tom Murphy's there, but like I said, no one relevant. So it leaves an open spot potentially for a Carson Whisenhunt, who has thrown 7 innings in each of his last 4 starts. And his last start just so happened to coincide with Justin Verlander's last start. He is perfectly lined up to be on normal rest on the next start if they need him. So that's kind of the wild card. I'll let you guys give your thoughts on, who you think it's going to be or who you would personally do or choose to make those starts. But those are the only 3 real options.
Yeah. So we had a little discussion about it yesterday, and I think it's a good time to bring it back up here. But I'm huge on Carson Whisenhunt. The 3 of us, we all like him. We all want to see him. My biggest gripe with it is that you have 7 starting pitchers technically on your big league roster. And it doesn't make much sense to me to call up Carson Whisenhunt and add him to the 40 and start his clock. And we'll elaborate on that in a little bit, but you'll get the ball rolling on Whisenhunt just to give him 2 starts and then send him right down to Sacramento, likely for the rest of the season because you have so many starters on your active roster, and then hope to see him, compete for a job in 2026. I just don't want to do that to the guy. I don't want to get my hopes up. I don't want to get fans' hopes up. I don't want to get Carson's hopes up just to see him for 2 starts and then shut him back down. With that being said, as you mentioned, it makes logical sense to just plug Harrison into the rotation. And Bob Melvin was speaking yesterday pregame, hyping him up before the Verlander news was announced, about how well he's pitched and how he can go out there and throw 50 innings right now if need be. And then, the Verlander news broke, and I'm like, that's got to be, a hint. He wouldn't just say that just to say it. So, to me, the stars are aligning for them to plug Harrison in. That would leave, a spot open in the pen, which I could see something with a bulk guy coming in like Sean Jelly. Now, there has been I haven't heard this, so that's good. There has been, some mumbles, so to speak, about Carson Seymour, which I don't really know where that's coming from. He is on the 40. He is struggling this year, though, but I have heard some rumbles about potentially bringing up Seymour. So I want to get both your guys' input on that. But to me, it makes the most realistic sense to just plug Harrison in for 2 weeks, bring up a Jelly, and then kind of weigh your options then. Now, like we talked about yesterday, I hate, kind of giving Harrison the runaround by having him start in Sac and then come to the pen here in San Francisco, then put him back in the starting role for 2 starts and then put him right back in the pen. I don't really like that idea, but to me that seems like the only option at this time.
So they did say they are going to make this announcement tomorrow. I think it is going to be Whisenhunt. I think they're going to give him a couple weeks run. I think it was just 2 days ago that 2 days ago that Harrison made his last appearance because he came in after Birdsong for the 1 inning.
Yeah.
I just think with him not being worked up as much into being a starter and only being able to give them 50 pitches, I think you're really pigeonholing yourself with Harrison because as we know, he's already not a guy who's going to be super efficient with his pitch count more often than not. I think it makes more sense to keep him in the role he's in right now, especially if Whisenhunt has already been consistently giving you 7 innings, and the guy is 24 years old. So it's like he's ready to roll. Like this is no spring chicken like Hayden Birdsong was last year, I think, at 22 when he debuted. So I think Whisenhunt's ready to roll. He was a college arm. I think last year was his year to really work through all the kinks, and he came in ready to roll this year. His command has been great. His strikeout stuff has been good. He's really only had 2 pretty crap starts. Other than that, he's been really dominant down there. So I think he's earned it, and I think we're at a point where if we call up Whisenhunt, he makes these 2 starts. I think that's where it'll be until another injury pops up, and then he'll come back up from Sacramento. Now, if, say, Whisenhunt gives you those 2 starts, and then in a week or so they realize that Verlander is going to end up being out longer, I think at that point it's very possible that they start working Harrison up with his pitch count and start having him do more long relief like Bivens is doing right now. I don't like the thought of Harrison being limited to 50 pitches. We saw that a lot in the Farhan era where they get stuck in that situation and then your starter only gives you 2 or 3. Then you end up burning through Bivens in that one game. And then what do you do if another starter has a blow up? Then you're really stuck because you're going to end up blowing through your entire bullpen in the next couple of games because of that one start that really screwed you up. And I think Posey and Manassian know better than that, where Farhan and the prior regime didn't really seem to learn from those lessons. So I think Whisenhunt now, if it ends up being a long-term issue, I think it'll eventually go to Harrison. Because if you do go the Harrison route, then you're kind of stuck with calling up Jelly or Beck, which is fine, but why not give Whisenhunt the shot when you already have the 40-man spot available right now anyways? You're going to have to add him at some point, and it probably will be some point this year. He's just pitching way too good to not give him the chance.
Yep. Yeah, so ultimately I kind of based on what Dan said, like with what Bob Melvin's comments, some of the stuff with Zach Manassian. I think my guess would be that they are going to go the Harrison route and bring up a Beck or Jelly, somebody that can fill. Beck's been throwing like 2 innings every single outing down in Sac. So they're going to get somebody that can fill multiple innings if they do that. Or, somebody mentioned earlier, Jaded, throw Harrison, piggyback him with Hicks. That's also possible. Now I'm going to make my case for Carson Whisenhunt because that's absolutely, I agree with kind of what Ricky said. Like that's what I would do personally. For starters, he's already built up. He's thrown 94 pitches several times this season. He is built up to handle a starter's workload today. No buildup needed, nothing. Number 2, he's already lined up. I already mentioned that. Number 3, the options. I don't feel like this is the same situation as like Joey Bart, who got his first option used way too early, or Wade Meckler, who got called up like immediately in his first year, or some of these other guys. It's not the same situation where guys are getting their options wasted or added too early. We look at guys like Ramos, Matos, Luciano. Those are all guys that had to be added to the 40-man before they had ever even like gotten called up. Like they got added because they had to get protected from other teams from the Rule 5 draft. So they were already having options being used by the time they actually brought him up. Whisenhunt, obviously, this is one where you're adding him, and this is going to go down as one of his option years. But as Ricky mentioned, he's going to be 24 this entire season. And my mindset is you get 3 option years. You have his age 24 season, age 25 season, age 26 season before you would have to be like at the crap or get off the pot point where he will be 27 in spring training in 2028. That's the point at which he either has to be on the roster or you DFA him. If you don't know what you have out of the guy in the next 3 years, is he honestly going to be around anyway? Like you're going to be moving on, similar to a lot of these guys. So that's why I don't care about the options. And also, if you just do it anyway, I think he's a great option to be a lefty in the pen down the road this season. Maybe he hits his innings limit. Maybe he reaches that point. Maybe the Giants are confident in the starters you have, and you're looking for that, 28th guy on the roster when September hits. And who better than, what better to throw in the pen than one of the best changeups in all of professional baseball, and a bunch of guys have never seen it. Like that's a weapon to me. So I think you're going to use that option, like Ricky said, at some point this season anyway. So now is as good a time to just rip that Band-Aid off and do it. And then the Kyle Harrison aspect of this, I agree 100% that if this was a long-term thing, if it came out that like Justin Verlander is, tore his pec and he's going to be out for the season or like 3 months, whatever the recovery time would be, then go Harrison, build him back up, go with Harrison and just let him do it. I don't want to jerk him back and forth between the rotation and the pen all season. Like to me, that's just as bad as the taxi squad crap. If you're going to be moving back and forth, like give him a defined role and don't put him in the rotation until it's permanent. And that's so that's where I stand. That's why I would go with Whisenhunt. And if we're talking about 2 starts, I already mentioned the changeup. Why not go with a guy that gives you kind of the best chance to win? Because he's going to be facing a bunch of guys that have never seen his changeup before.
I totally hear where you guys are coming from, but to your last point there about getting a defined role, that's what I want with Carson Whisenhunt. I don't want them to add him to the 40, bring him up for 2 starts, send him back down to start in Sac, and then maybe bring him back up later in the year and throw him in the pen. Like find him a role, whether it's going to be strictly in the pen for the short time being and keep him on the big league roster. If there was a path to him having, a legit chance at being showcased as a starter for the long term, I'm all for that. If there's an option where, like you mentioned, if Verlander's out for months at a time and you got to make a decision to throw, one or the other into the starting rotation and then one into the pen, by all means, I want to see that too. But I can't get behind the idea of bringing the guy up for 2 starts and then maybe bringing him back up later in the year and throwing him in the bullpen, or keeping him in Sacramento and then trying to see what you have going into his age 25 season. I just want to see, what you're going to do with him long term. I don't want to have all these hypotheticals come up. So that's the reason why if it's just a 15-day IL stint, I don't want to jeopardize the guy's, season and or future just for 2 starts. But I mean, like I said, I totally hear you guys out. I'm a big Wisenhunt guy. He's got a nasty changeup. It would be a wonderful weapon to have. It's just I want to see it in the long term and solidified role rather than just for a 2-week stint. But that's just where I come from.
That's fair.
I think it more so comes down to incentivizing a guy who has really earned the call up. And I think really part of it too. There's awesome. That name again. No, it really comes down in incentivizing a guy who has earned the call up and showing other guys to stay the course. Because, I mean, he spent a whole year in SAC, got nowhere with it, worked through the struggles, came up this year and has been very, very good and has worked on pretty much everything you'd want him to work on, which is command, getting home runs down, and then also mixing in a third pitch. I think he's really checked all those boxes, and you wouldn't be calling him up for the 2 starts to screw with the guy. You're doing it to really, pump the guy up and be like, hey, you earned this, kid. Now go out and show it in the big leagues. And, even if this is for 2 starts, don't worry, you're going to be back up this season. And if he ends up being a September call up and being just an addition to the bullpen, it's not to screw with him and throw him in a different role. It's more like, hey, Sacramento season's kind of coming to an end anyways. Give us a shot in the arm out of the pen. Show these other big league teams something they haven't seen before and be a weapon, come playoff time, assuming the Giants are still in that mix. So that's kind of where it is. And then it gives him something to build off going into next year, because ultimately it's not like years past where there's just no roles on the team. It's like, the rotation's kind of full. The Giants have a lot of pitching depth this year. So if anything, it's just kind of a shot in the arm, and you kind of just play it by ear and see what happens. I mean, we don't even know that Landon Roop ends up staying healthy and staying in the rotation all year. You just don't really know. So
yeah. He doesn't have a track record there.
I was going to say, see, but that's exactly my thing. You're putting yourself in a position where you have 5 starters / relievers on your big league team out of the 8 that are available. You got Roop, Hicks, Harrison, Birdsong, and then Wisenhunt, who have all kind of had undefined roles since spring training, whether they're going to be in the bullpen or whether they're going to be in the starting rotation. So if you're just going to keep adding on to that collection of dudes, I just want to see everyone get solidified roles. And it's a numbers game. Ultimately, you've got, so many mouths to feed. So that's my biggest gripe. It's like, I wish that we had, whether it was, Hicks solidified in the pen and Roop solidified in your long relief role, and then slide Harrison and Birdsong into the rotation, and then a spot is opened up, and then you can slide Wisenhunt in there to get a legit shot. Like, I wish it was structured more something like that. I just hate the fact that you've got 5 pitchers on your big league roster who just 3 months ago you didn't know if they're going to be starters or relievers. Yeah. So that's more so where I'm coming from. It's just I want to see long-term success for all these young pitchers in their own defined roles. Yeah. So that's just where my mindset is.
Well, and that's part of why I think if you bring Wisenhunt up, it is actually more defined, because Harrison right now is a reliever. If you start jerking him back and forth, it's messing with his role. If you just leave him in the reliever role, Carson Wisenhunt right now is a starting pitcher. They already know that. So you're taking a starter to start games. And like, I totally get the whole like 10 day thing, like the only making 2 starts. But on the flip side, it's like, I think that's where communication is key. Like, you're communicating with Carson, like, listen, this is a 2-start thing. So it's not don't go over there and try and do too much. Don't try, like, we believe in you. That's why you're getting these 2 starts, but it's a 2-start thing. And he's not coming up like a hitter, and he's not getting the Farhan treatment or the Ramos treatment where he gets, 13 at bats spread out over 14 days. And everybody flips out about how he goes 2 for 13. And, they're like, oh, see, he's not ready. Like he's getting 2 starts. Like he's getting the ball those days. So it's not jerking him around to me. Like you're just go through your routine, man. So
now, if that's communicated thoroughly, I'm all for it. And if that's, if there's a solidified game plan, sure, let's go ahead. Let's try it out. Let's see the Posey way. But, you're kind of in this position now where I'm like, well, I don't really know what to expect because I've seen how Harrison and Birdsong have been kind of treated since spring and Roop. And there's a big old competition for that 5th job. And then now you got guys that were starters going to the pen and then going from the pen to the rotation. And it's like, if there's like a solidified, game plan for all these guys, then sure, I'm game.
Yeah. And the communication I think is important for the Harrison aspect too. Because Kyle's going to be like, what the hell, dude? Like if you do jump Wisenhunt. And I don't view it as Wisenhunt jumping Kyle. I view it as he's already built up as a starter. We don't want to move you to the starting rotation, change your routine just to shove you back in the pen in 10 days.
Yeah.
Like
which is
that,
totally
that's where I think it's just communicating with Kyle that if this was a long-term thing, you would be the one doing this. But it's a short term. So we don't want to mess with your routine in your role.
Yeah, totally valid.
So, and then to you mentioned Carson Seymour earlier. Excellent start to the year. Had, what do you think, Ricky? Like 3 or 4 rough outings in a row. His last outing yesterday was actually really good, but he did throw yesterday. So that pretty much rules him out in my book.
And the command's been an issue with him. It wouldn't make sense to have a guy like him come up over Wisenhunt when they've had a few guys that are doing okay for what that league is for hitters. But I mean, Wisenhunt has been far and away the best pitcher in not only just Sacramento, but in my opinion, in the entire Pacific Coast League. So to me, it's without a doubt he's earned it. And like we were saying, as far as the communication goes, I 100% think the communication would be there because it's very clear. Like, hey, like I said, you are getting these next 2 starts. We plan for Justin to be back. It's nothing serious. You are going to go back down after that. You're going to continue your current rotation in Sacramento. You're going to continue on with your same routine you've had. Nothing's going to change, but fully expect to be back up here if something else comes up again. And like I said, if they do see Verlander's injury as being something that gets stretched out longer, then you're probably going to see Harrison go right down the Hayden Birdsong route, which it's slowly build him up in a long relief role and then eventually slide into getting to the point where he can handle 75 pitches. That's what I would do.
Yep. Aaron says after consulting with Farhan, Eric Miller will be the opener.
No openers, please, dude. I can't. I'm scarred from those games.
It's either going to be Eric Miller, Randy Rodriguez, or Ryan Walker will be opening instead of closing.
We'll trade for Zach Littell.
Oh my
God. Carson Wisenhunt this year. Couple things of note. His home runs per game are pretty similar. The command issues that I've seen with him, they're pretty rare, but his misses, he's not walking hitters. Like that's the big positive. He's averaging 1.25 walks per 9 right now. He does miss occasionally in the zone, and when you throw 93, 94, it gets hit out of the yard a lot of times. That's been his one thing. It's a lot of solo home runs, but that has been the one thing that's kind of gotten to him a little bit. Now, again, it's the Pacific Coast League. These are very hitter-friendly parks, but that is something. If he does that to major league hitters, they're going to hit it out. But the flip side of that is he has a true 80 grade changeup. Like if there's anything you ever need to know about Carson Wisenhunt, it's that he's going to have like a top 5 changeup in the entire major leagues. The second he steps foot on a major league diamond, he gets about a 47% whiff rate on that. And it's a pitch that he will throw pretty repeatedly in 2 strike counts. And every hitter in that league knows it's coming and they still do nothing with it. So it's that good of a pitch. So he's right now 3 ERA, 1 whip. He's averaging a little over a strikeout an inning. I think he was at like 9.5 per 9. So he's been, as Ricky said, like he's been pretty special for the PCL. Like those numbers aren't normal for that league. It is a very hitter friendly league. So
in fact, I think the Giants have 3 of the top 5 starters in terms of ERA in the PCL, and the Giants' next 2 guys are in like the high 4s, I believe, last time I checked. So that kind of just shows it's like Wisenhunt and I think one other guy are like the only guys that have enough qualified innings and have sub 4 ERAs in that league. It's not easy.
Seymour is 3.59.
I mean, you guys really got to point your finger at the root cause of the issue with that. It's the elevation, bro.
Yeah, there are some. They haven't even played in those parks yet. That's the scary thing. You know, you look at guys Sacramento. Like, yeah, right. Yeah, they have the in the PCL, and this is one of the things. I'm not going to go down the whole Luciano train or anything like that, but like. He has shown some solid power this year, and that's kind of one of the crazy things is they haven't even played any games in Reno, Albuquerque, even Vegas. It's not elevation, but Salt Lake City. Like they haven't done any of those road trips yet, and those are all the just pure launching pads that they have in that league. So, you know, we'll see. I'm trying to see who else. I know Seymour's had a good year overall, but. Yeah, I mean, Seymour and Wisenhunt are kind of the 2 that have thrown the ball pretty well. Ragsdale's also on the 40-man. He needs to remain in the pen. That's what I'll say there. Same with McDonald's also been in the 40-man, but he's kind of fought his command a lot this year. I wouldn't personally bring up a guy that's fighting his command. I'm not a fan of that, even if he has had a couple good starts recently. I just let him work through his stuff down in Sac.
Yeah, I think those 2 guys you just mentioned are very good trade candidates as like fillers in a mid-season trade just because of them holding 40-man spots, and I don't think there's really a super clear path for either of them in coming up because I think Beck or Jelly would be the first ones to come up, and the 40-man is honestly just really filled up with a ton of pitching in general, and I think they could totally fill those spots with somebody else that'd be more major league ready at some point this season.
Yeah. George, to answer your question, it's okay. I think it's at least close to an average pitch. It's definitely not a plus pitch, but it's something he's mixing in with no strikes, 1 strike. He'll steal a strike here and there. He's gotten a couple whiffs out of it. He gets the occasional chase, but it's not a special pitch. It's something that he's going to throw maybe 10% of the time, maybe 15 tops. And it's kind of, you know, it's just kind of there. He's got a fastball that plays plenty well off of his changeup, though. Like he's clearly a changeup guy, and then he's got a plus fastball because he does throw mid-90s with some sink off of the changeup. So those are going to be his 2+ pitches.
Yeah, I'm seeing he was originally graded as a 40 grade slider, and it's gone up to a 50 since he's been drafted by the Giants, which seems pretty much right in line with, I think, what we've all seen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He asked, how is Austin Strickland? He's okay. Nothing great. We're probably not going to get much out of that one. He's not having a good year right now. He's in high A. He is only 22 years old though, so you know we'll kind of see from there. Maiko, I kind of mentioned it. Harar and Carson would be my 2 picks. Wisenhunt.
Kai Tang. That's who I want.
Well, so George, I mean, it's not a 2-pitch mix. Like he still has the breaking ball. He'll still throw it. It's just kind of an average pitch. Lots of guys don't have 3 great pitches. Like, you just have to have 3 that you can throw in any count is really the key.
Don't forget, Robbie Ray won a Cy Young with a 2-pitch mix.
Yeah. The changeup's new for Robbie Ray. I mean, he truly was a fastball slider guy, and that's it. Yeah. So, yeah, I think if you have 2 higher end pitches, and then you at least have a third that you can mix in, you can be successful. Especially when one is like insanely elite.
Yeah.
So I think we've kind of beat that horse into the ground at this point. Let's do some Elliot Ramos talk. And then anybody, if you guys have any, topics you want us to cover, we're going to probably stop this at about 9:30, but we're going to hop on the Elliot Ramos topic a little bit here because, he really does look like a guy that's taking the next step. And I'm not going to sit here and say he's a superstar or anything like that. But you kind of start looking at a lot of what he's doing offensively. And the Giants might finally have like a genuine star offensive player. And we're gonna kind of pump through some numbers. One of the things that has been kind of crazy is over his last 22 games, he's hitting .397. He has 6 home runs and 16 RBIs. And I'm going to pull up right now his Savant page. It's everybody's favorite. We're going to pull up his baseball Savant page because there's a couple things I really want to highlight here. One of the things that we've seen is his bat speed is actually down a little bit from last season. If you look at his 2024 numbers, his bat speed was 75.2 miles per hour. And then he had all these just insane batted ball metrics. The red is obviously good. He's actually sacrificed a little bit of that. And I think it's pretty noticeable that his swing is a bit shorter right now.
Mm-hmm.
And he's very much sacrificing some of the overall power, which I feel like it's not actually been that bad because he's still consistently hitting balls like 105 miles an hour plus. The home run he hit the other day was like 112. He had a 116 mile per hour single to left field the other day. He's very much sacrificed a little bit of the bat speed, knowing full well that he's still going to put up stupid numbers when it comes to the metrics. And look at this right here. He's got his chase rate down to, or his whiff rate down to 22.9% and his strikeout rate down to 22.4. He was a guy that was pretty consistently last year. At the end of the year, it was down to 26, but for most of last season, it was up near 30.
Mm-hmm.
And we all kind of said, can he just get it under 25%? And he has been down well below that. Like, I mean, it's 22.5 right now, basically. And I could see that continuing to improve. The chase rate is the big thing right now. It's still, overall below average on the year, but it is something that was like one of the worst in baseball for like the first month. And he has since seemingly solved that issue. It's been just in a free fall percentage wise. So that I think is actually going to be pretty close to league average, maybe even better by the end of the year. So that's the big positive. Overall, I mean, you're looking at a guy he's got about a 140 OPS plus, I believe. So he's been about 40% better than league average. All in all, like his approach is good. The batted ball metrics are good. I look at this guy and it is just so clear. Like, I think they're going to end up with one of the better hitters in baseball we're going to be talking about in the next 2 years.
His metrics are insane given the fact that he was on a very long slump for multiple weeks. And even considering that, his numbers are still just outrageous. So I just, dude, honestly, I just hope he stays healthy. That's my biggest thing, because if he stays healthy, you have potential for him to get 30 plus home runs, 90 plus RBIs, 750 plus OPS, pushing 800. I mean, he can put up some crazy numbers if he just stays healthy.
Yeah. He's quietly on a 29 home run pace right now.
Yeah.
29 and 84 RBIs, which I'd love to see the RBIs go up, but he did go through that humongous slump where he, I think, had no home runs and it felt like about 2 RBIs in a 3 or 4 week span.
No, literally.
So, yeah.
I think as we get into the part of the season where we start getting a lot warmer weather too, I think he's going to start hitting them in bunches a little bit more. I mean, he's already kind of started to do that over the last 2 weeks. So I fully expect him to pick that pace up a little bit. I mean, he was on a really good pace the first 2 weeks of the season, got really cold, and I feel like he's starting to pick that back up big time right now. So I fully expect that to to pick up. I personally think he's going to pass 30 home runs this year.
Yeah, I hope he does. I mean, I do think he hit what, like 8 or 10 in June last year.
Yeah.
I could see that again, and he just time and time again just adjusts to major league pitching. He sees how they're pitching and he makes an adjustment, and he's been doing it since last season. Like, I don't know how much anybody else would need to actually see that's not a believer in Elliot Ramos. Like, I'm very much once I see you adjust, and especially if I see you adjust to major league pitching multiple times, at that point I'm sold. Like, to me, you've shown the ability to do that. And I think he's going to be, maybe not a special player, but he's going to be a damn good one for a long time. And as we've talked in the years past, or in episodes past, like, I would be 100% looking to try and extend the guy ASAP.
See, what's frustrating is that it's just been so rough with, especially as of late, with your 2 through 4, 2 through 5 hitters with Ligon cold, Damas cold, Chappie cold, and they're all batting in front of Ramos, so it's really not giving him much opportunity to drive in runs. So that's why he's only on like an 84 RBI pace, because what he has in front of him, just they're not getting on base. So, but yeah, realistically, I mean, he and Chappie are both on like a 29 home run pace. Like, if they keep it up, and especially have a hot, June and July, I mean, there's a good chance that you got a couple guys that are going to hit 30.
Oh, we've talked about it.
No. No.
Extend the man.
I do think the 100 RBIs is much more likely than the 30 homers, but yeah,
Neither.
I mean, he's got 10, I believe. He leads the team.
My prediction is Wilmer hits 30 home runs and has 100 RBIs, and Dan has to get 2 tattoos.
Don't know.
Game 162, he's sitting on 29 and 99. Dan's just up there sweating, and he hits like a walk-off bomb to win the division. Dan's like, I don't know whether to laugh or smile or cry.
That's all I can say is no. Just no.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, no, Wilmer's having a great year. I do question things with like how sustainable it is over 162. I'm not trying to like disrespect Wilmer Flores, but I mean, you look at what
look at his savant,
dude.
He's got some of the weakest contact in all of baseball, and yet he's freaking mashing. It doesn't make any sense. He's doing it just to spite me, I swear.
Like,
look at that.
Look at the cover picture. He's like so out on his front foot.
Look at that. Bat speed, second percentile, hard hit, exit velo.
Second percentile average exit velocity. Well, it's because when you look at his spray chart, it's like all or nothing with the guy. Look how many little bloop singles he has into right center field. It's like half of his hits that haven't gone for homers.
He just throws
even
the
in
bat head out.
He just does pull the ball at like an elite rate. Like that's really what it is. He pulls the ball in the air at an elite rate, and that's where you can get, your power in Oracle Park. And yeah, Eddie, to an extent here, I agree with this. Like, analytics never tell the full story, and I'll die on that hill. Like, I'm not like the most analytics are everything thing. The main things I like to look at, especially here, is these down here. It's the chase rate, the whiff rate, the strikeout rate, and the walk rate. And I don't care about expected stats. I don't care about this stuff. It is nice to know like this information, like what's your average exit velo. Are you consistently able to get it in the air at the desired, whatever, like that stuff is useful. But I don't care about the expected stats, at the end of the day. So that's just insane. I don't know how he's
it's wild.
I'm telling you, bro, it's just to spite me.
Yeah. I'm not going to sit here and say like Wilmer's going to have a bad year. I really think he's going to push 100 RBIs. Like, the way he's just been so clutch with runners in scoring position. But I do think at the end of the year, it's going to be more like 25 home runs. I think Ramos is going to end up with the team lead. Chapman might. I mean, Chapman doesn't feel like he's gone on a tear, but it feels like all he's doing is hitting dingers when he does make contact. So Chapman might. I think ultimately the cream is going to rise on that one, and Wilmer will still end up probably setting a career high in homers, though.
You know what's crazy about Chapman too? I could be totally wrong, but I feel like almost all of his home runs have been at Oracle this year, which feels like that should turn around a lot. Because I can picture, I know he had that one in Minnesota we were talking about, and then at the beginning of this month, and then he's had, I'm pretty sure, most of his home runs this year at Oracle. I remember one in Minnesota, one in Cincinnati to start the season. I think game 2 or 3. But other than that, I feel like most of his homers have been at home this year. So I feel like I would definitely expect him to turn that around. Because he had 2 at home against the Rockies. He just had one in this series against the Royals. He had, I think, one at home
Seattle.
against the Reds.
He had one in Philly Seattle. And one in LA.
So about half.
So 4, yeah. I think he's like 5 at home, 4 on the road, it seems.
That's not bad. I mean, yeah. And I don't know. I mean, this isn't really the greatest road trip to go out and just slug, because you've got Detroit, you got Miami, and then you got Washington. Washington's probably your best shot, but I do feel like when they get to some of these smaller yards in the summer, you're going to start seeing him, Willie, and Ramos just hit him in bunches.
God, that would be nice, man.
Because, I mean, as much as Willie has really been lagging behind, there's definitely been a handful of fly balls he's hit to right center field that would have been home runs anywhere else other than San Francisco. So you feel like that one he hit in Philly about a month or so ago, like you feel like he's going to get some more of those once they start playing in some of these smaller yards.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a matter of when, not if.
Yeah, June, it's not a ton. I mean, you get a series in Colorado and one in LA Dodgers. But other than that, there's not a ton. But July, I mean, you get
just imagine if we played 80+ games at Yankee Stadium.
Yeah. That's what was crazy, that Willie didn't have any there, because of all the fly balls he hits to right center. Like, you'd think he would have hit multiple like Lee did, you know.
Just he hit one 312 feet and you got a bomb.
But yeah, I mean, July, you've got Arizona, they're playing in Sacramento, Toronto, Atlanta. I mean, even New York isn't bad. So you feel like he's got plenty of chances there.
Yeah. I think August is going to be the month that some of these guys make a push. They get to play at the Mets, at Pittsburgh, at San Diego, at Milwaukee, and then the rest are home games. But it's kind of a shot. They don't have really any month where they're just like in a bunch of bandboxes. I feel like they've already kind of played in some of them, because they've already played in Philly and they've already played in Cincinnati
and Houston,
yeah,
and New York,
and New York, yeah.
Hey, maybe Miami's good to him too, though, because he said he's still getting used to playing outside again. Miami, you get to play inside. Obviously, they will have a handful of games in Arizona. So weird this year too, how they just have scheduled so many of the divisional games so late into the season.
Yeah.
They don't even play at Arizona until the last day of June, which is insane. And then they don't play in LA against the Dodgers until June 13th. It's nuts.
Just ask Colorado and Arizona to fix the humidifier when you're playing in their park.
Oh man. All right, do we want to talk about the giveaway?
Let's do it.
And then anyone in the chat, if you have any topics you want us to hit before we get off here, we're going to probably hop off at about 9:30. So if you have anything that you want us to talk about, throw it in there for us, and we'll cover it. But Ricky's going to do the lowdown on the chat, or on the giveaway that we're going to do next Thursday, and go ahead and take it away.
Yeah, very simple. It is going to be a signed Hayden Birdsong home jersey like the one I'm wearing right now. All you got to do is follow the Instagram handle down below my name right there. You go on there, there's instructions for the giveaway on the most recent post. But to put it simply, you follow that Instagram page that I run. You will subscribe to Cody's show if you're not already. And then you just drop 3 Instagram users on the comments of the post with the giveaway instructions. After that, all you got to do is show up to the live next Thursday. And once you're in the live and you are subscribed, you are locked into the giveaway. We will run that giveaway at some point at the very end of the show. And then as long as we confirm that you did those things, and you get selected on that giveaway, we will run that. If it does really well, we might throw something else in there too, possibly a Matt Chapman bobblehead, but got to get those likes, those follows, those subscribers up in order to run that too. But that might be a little incentive if you guys really push that. But make sure you guys go check out that Instagram, post Giants highlights, prospect highlights, any kind of breaking Giants news, random videos of older Giants highlights, all sorts of just random stuff. So go check that out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure. And I'll add one last thing that you have to do. And that's, you're going to simply have to drop a comment in the chat, because that's how that giveaway tool runs. It pulls from comments in the chat for people that have like actively commented in the chat during the live show. So you only have to put one. You don't have to sit there and like throw a whole bunch, but as long as you put one comment in there, your name will be on the list. But you do have to be in there when we're doing the giveaway to be entered. If you drop a comment and leave, it's not going to pull your name. It's just kind of how the thing works. So
yeah. And you don't have to comment a specific word or phrase or anything. You can say, I hate caveman's face, for all we care, and then that enrolls you. So yeah, pretty simple.
Put or if you want to you say shave your mustache. I mean, there's lots of things you can put in there.
Just every comment say Wilmer Flores.
No.
If you guys want to make it easy for the comment, you can just drop your Instagram handle on there. Because then if you guys are the ones that win, we will see your Instagram handle there, and then it'll be very easy to verify that you guys followed the instructions, and then we can announce you as the winner if you get selected.
Yeah.
Listen to Jenny, everyone.
Yeah. And subscribe. Appreciate you, Jenny.
Lucille follows you, Ricky?
I don't know, or they might mean Cody's show, like on X. I don't know.
No. Lucille follows you guys. That's hilarious.
I didn't even know Lucille had a page.
Anthony, you're killing me, bro.
Look, I accidentally shaved the beard when I was trying to trim it, and the only thing that I was able to keep is the stash. So leave it alone.
That's hilarious. Yeah. You guys
the guard came off.
Did you ever watch? Did you ever watch How I Met Your Mother?
Yes.
When Marshall gets married,
yes,
he gets the frosted tips, and then he like freaks out, just right down the middle. It kills me. E40 follows Tommy. Yeah, I get like the most random follows. I have like Bryce Eldridge's dad, Xander Darby's dad. Ricky's got all the moms over there. He's cougar hunting. And Glenn Kuiper came across that one. He was randomly following me, so that was kind of cool. But yeah,
I was DMing Jacob Christian the other day, just chatting it up. That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
this shows let us meet a lot of cool people. So
yeah. No, it's been a blessing, and all you guys are the reason that it's kind of grown to the way it is. So we really appreciate you guys and all the support you guys have given it. So, all right, let's see what we got here. What would it cost the Giants to trade for Adley Rutschman and or one of the O's first baseman?
A lot.
Yeah. Even though he's been struggling the last couple of years, that would be an extremely that would be expensive. And you couldn't even just be like, yeah, here's Patrick Bailey back, plus prospects. Because if they're trading Adley Rutschman, it's because they got Sam Pasayo knocking on the door. Like, that's the reality. So I don't think they would make that trade in general, but yeah, that's pretty tough.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Suppose he's scared to make a trade. I mean, it's technically he's already made one. He traded Taylor Rogers in the offseason. But it's May. Not many trades happen this early. That would be my answer.
You've got, like, I would say 4 teams out there that would, like, for sure be willing to trade right now. And that's probably about it. I mean, there's a bunch of, they're playing the Nationals tomorrow. They're a team that I would say should probably be open for trades, but they probably won't be willing to have that discussion until right at the deadline, just because it's like you go on one hot streak and you could be an over 500 team. And then it's like, you're in the hunt for a wild card. You don't really want to do that. So, it's tough. The Rays and the Orioles just continuing to have rough seasons would definitely benefit the Giants. With the Orioles, though, honestly, I don't really see them trading any of their younger-ish guys. I think they're just going to trade from that group of expiring contract veteran free agent types like O'Hearn, those kind of guys, Laureano. They're not going to trade from their younger guys. They'll, if anything, trade those guys on expiring contracts and then just try to retool and run it back next year with the young core that they have.
Yeah. I agree. I don't think the Orioles are going to like blow it up or anything. This is a team that the last 3 years, they won 83 games in 2022, but 2023 they won 100 games, and last year they won 91 games. I don't think they're necessarily a bad team. They have no pitching. Like, that's the reality. Like, they desperately need to fix the pitching, but I don't think they're going to blow it up. I do think O'Hearn's possible. I think Lowe is out there. It's supposedly he's already on the trade block. The Nationals would be willing to move him. A lot of teams that are terrible are willing to move a guy well before the deadline if they get what they deem fair value, or even like some teams willing to like overpay. But that's the thing, is you're not going to get a guy for like a steal unless it's like a DFA candidate that suddenly just takes off for your team. You're not going to get teams to just give guys away. So that's the hard part. We've mentioned Yandy Diaz many times on this show. The Rays are 23-26, but somehow only 7 games behind the Yankees. That's the hard part. If the Rays go have the Twins just won like 13 games in a row or whatever it was, or 14 games in a row. So all it takes is like 2 good weeks, and then the Rays are right back in it. So that's the hard part. It's hard to know 100% who's going to be selling in a couple months.
The good thing is, I will say, I don't think the Giants are pigeonholed into where they have to absolutely make any one type of move. First base is the obvious one. That could change if Herrera just gets the majority of the playing time there and is absolutely on fire. Bullpen has been like top 2, top 3 in all of the MLB. So you don't really need to make a move there. You could, if you really want to just add a strength to a strength. Starting pitching, you can make the argument that the Giants should absolutely try to go for another frontline starter to pair with Ray and Webb. Like I've mentioned, Freddie Peralta or somebody of that nature. But again, it's kind of tough because you don't really know if the Brewers would be willing to make a move like that, since he is under contract next year as well. But the Giants aren't really pigeonholed into doing anything. Honestly, my biggest priority would be adding a couple bench bats more than anything, which wouldn't cost you much, isn't going to make you need to trade a Bryce Eldridge or a Carson Wisenhunt, a James Tibbs, a Dakota Jordan. You're not going to have to do all that, but it would kind of raise the floor of your team a little bit and allow you to be a little bit more consistent game in, game out.
Yeah.
Addition by subtraction. Get rid of Wade, your lineup improves. Simple as that.
Morcana, this would never actually happen, but here I'll share an image of what they would have to, of what they'd have to give up. That,
yeah, I would take
their
that.
top 5. Like that's realistically what they're giving up. And honestly, probably sub one of these guys out for Jackson Holiday, and that's why it'll never happen. So
yeah, I'm like, you guys can throw in Adley, Jackson Holiday, Gunnar Henderson, somebody like that, and then we'll just take like 2 less prospects.
Yeah, Sam.
Thoughts on Bo Davidson?
Love Bo.
Yeah. Bo does dingers.
He needs to get promoted.
How and I feel like I say this every week on the minor league update, but how that guy went undrafted, it's just befuddling. Like, it's just, there are 20 rounds now in the draft every year. So the guy got passed up essentially 20 times over. I know it doesn't exactly math like that because some teams lose picks, but I mean, it's just insane that this guy, nobody saw him. I mean, Giants included, they signed him as an undrafted guy, and you watch him play and he genuinely has 5 tools. And now it's not like, we're not talking about Willie Mays here, guys. Like, we're not talking about like a 5 elite tools, but like he has 5+ tools and he could be a really, really good player. And I'm always like a little skeptical when they're doing this in the lower levels, but I mean, he's gone from A-ball, he dominated, he was probably a little older for that league when he did it, but then he goes to high A and now he's kind of that normal age of that league. He's 22 years old and he's out there dominating high A. So I mean, if he goes to Richmond mid-season and he just dominates Richmond, I mean, we're looking at, like, to me, I think he's a top 100 prospect. He's not going to get ranked that way because he is an undrafted free agent or undrafted signee, and whether it's fair or not, draft status and things like that does matter with those top 100 lists. Like, they do get factored in, and it takes longer for the undrafted guys to like change the minds of those publishers. Yeah. So I think we're looking at least one more year before he gets consideration for that. But man, he is a fun watch. Like, he plays with the most swag, I think, of anybody in their system, top to bottom. He's up there with Ramos and like pimping walks and stuff. Like, he just has fun. Like, you can tell.
Yeah, I honestly think if he were in the Dodgers system, he would already be in the top 100 right now because of the way they just plain and simple just shit on Giants prospects year after year. I mean, the guy is absolutely dominating every level he's played at so far. The guy is not like crazy old. He's 22. He will be 23 in July. But honestly, at his current pace, I don't see any way he doesn't get up to Richmond before July if he continues doing exactly what he's doing right now. And I mean, if you're in Double-A at 22 years old, that's not super old for that level by any means. I mean, you're right there on, a year away from being on the cusp of the big leagues at that point. And I mean, who knows at that point if you go and again repeat that at the Double-A level, you're gonna really open some eyes. So he's definitely a guy that needs to be considered because he's showing off the power, he's showing off speed, he's playing pretty good defense, he's showing off all these things while in high A, but ultimately he's doing that also while not striking out a ton either. I think his K rate is like 20 something percent in the low 20s right now, I believe. So he's dominating on all fronts. He's not just putting up a 900 plus OPS while striking out 30% of the time. Like, he's pretty much dominating on all fronts, and I definitely want to see what he can continue to do. I think he's got a pretty nice ceiling. You know, not a guy that's going to go and hit you 30 bombs in a year, but he's going to give you a nice blend of power, speed, defense. And he's a left-handed bat, which the Giants desperately need more of. So he is a very nice add to the system.
I've said, and it's hard because the numbers don't always tell the full story, as we all know. But like, I feel like he could be a 2020 guy. He has that kind of upside. The stolen bases, he hasn't really quite shown that through. He had 7 all of last year. He has 5 already this year. He's doing it more. But I mean, to Ricky's point, 21.1% K rate, 9.5 walk rate, sitting 323 with a 952 OPS. He has, in only 147 plate appearances, he has 6 home runs, 8 doubles, and 3 triples. So he's got 17 extra base hits in what's about a quarter of a season. Like, if people want to ask me like what I think his ceiling is, I think it's a plus defensive player that can play all 3 outfield positions. A guy that can be a 2020 guy with around like 60 extra base hits, which that's like a fringe, like that's like an all-star caliber player. Like, that's a really good player. So George says Dakota Jordan 4 for 6 tonight. How is he not a top 100? Just simply because he was a 4th round draft pick last season.
Because he's not a Dodger.
Yeah, and he's not a Dodger. Yeah, if he was, or a Yankee, you know, if he was doing these things for their org, he might have already been on the list in a reshuffle. But in all seriousness, if Dakota Jordan continues what he's doing, makes it up to high A, and has just a great year, I think there's a high likelihood that we see him on a top 100 list in the offseason because he's a 4th round pick. That was kind of viewed better than he got drafted. He kind of dropped because of signability stuff. And the Giants being able to go above slot helped them get him. And so I do think, just with the pedigree and everything, like the draft status, and if he has a good year, I think you'll see him on that list.
Yeah.
So, but with that said, it is 9:30, so we're gonna go ahead and wrap it up here. We appreciate everybody jumping in here tonight. We have like 130 in here. I don't know how many of you guys are on YouTube, how many of you are on X, but you know, like we said earlier, if you're on whatever platform you're on, if you can jump over to the YouTube channel, hit the subscribe button, and then just follow all the instructions that Ricky left for you to get entered in the giveaway. We got that signed Birdsong jersey coming next week, so that'll be a lot of fun. Appreciate you guys. You guys got anything you want to add in?
There's one random piece of news, baseball news. I don't know if you guys heard of. I just wanted to let everyone know if they haven't heard it. The Cincinnati Reds are being sued by forever Giant Darren Ruff. So just a fun little thing if you guys want to read into that.
They ended his career.
Yeah,
definitely wasn't his bat that ended his career.
Definitely not the bat. When I saw it earlier, I was like, "Oh, that's interesting." So, yeah, if you guys haven't heard that yet, check it out.
He was about another 15 games away from joining Pablo in Staten Island.
Gotta love the Fairy Hawks.
Yeah. All right, go Giants. See you guys all next week.